Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right in, headfirst, really, into
Yeah.
something that, well, if you've been playing Magic, the Gathering for a while, you've probably felt it.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're hitting FNM, building that perfect commander deck, carefully putting together a collection, or even just trading binders now and then, there's this kind of dread, maybe, a little anxiety.
Definitely. It's like this background hum sometimes.
Exactly. And we're talking about the big one today, the granddaddy of all risks, you could say.
The one that makes even like the super experienced finance folks or the real card sharks get a little nervous.
Right. A cold sweat, maybe.
Yeah.
And this isn't just like, oh man, I traded my fetch land for the wrong thing.
No, not that.
Or, that awful feeling when you buy a card and the next day it's worth half. We've all been there.
We have.
Yeah.
Painfully. But this is bigger.
Yeah, much, much bigger.
Yeah.
It's a kind of thing that goes way beyond just one card or one bad decision you made. It even goes beyond just the Magic market itself.
That's the key.
Yeah.
We're digging into a risk that's, well, it's fundamental. It's unavoidable, really. Not just in Magic, but, I mean, any collectible market. Think comics, coins, art,
Anything.
literally anything. And it's the same risk you find in, your standard investment portfolio.
Yeah.
Stocks, bonds, real estate.
Yep.
Even your precious graded Alpha Power 9 collection isn't immune.
Ooh, right to the heart.
Right. So our goal today, our mission, is to really get our heads around what this massive threat actually is, how it affects you, the player, the collector, the person who loves this game, and maybe, just maybe, come to terms with the fact that you just can't outrun it.
And when I say you can't run from it, I mean it. Like, picture this in the most ridiculous, over-the-top Magic player fashion imaginable.
Okay, I'm listening.
This risk, it's so scary for some people, so present, that the only logical thing to do is walk around wearing a circle of protection, red, but not just any copper.
Right.
No, it has to be PSA 10 graded. Alpha only. Alpha.
Right.
You wear it around your neck all the time.
Natural.
Like, you wear it to the grocery store, and I'm pretty sure Timmy, the guy in produce, he sees you coming,
Yep.
and he just slowly backs away. Won't even put your apples in the basket. Just muttering about, like, unacceptable risk level.
Okay, that paints a picture. A slightly terrifying, very nerdy picture.
But it gets the feeling across, right? The absurdity, but also that real underlying fear this thing kicks up.
It absolutely does. And that's what this deep dive is about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Balancing the serious stuff, the actual mechanics of this risk, with those relatable moments, those slightly exaggerated maybe, but definitely shared experiences of being deep in this hobby.
Yeah, we're going to peel back the layers on something that sounds kind of abstract, maybe a bit academic.
Systematic risk.
Mm,
Sounds dry.
totally. But its effects, they're super tangible, very personal, especially when it comes to our cardboard treasures and, let's be honest, our bank accounts.
Exactly.
So let's really get into it. This unseen threat, this shadow that kind of looms over every booster pack you crack, every rare you pull, every trade binder you flip through.
Yeah. It's the kind of risk that, it genuinely keeps you up at night sometimes. It's the one that can really scare the crap out of you, frankly.
Because you can't escape it. That's the horrifying part. You can't diversify your way out. You can't, make one clever move to sidestep it.
Nope. No matter how many different sets you collect or how spread out your investments are within Magic, it doesn't matter.
You can't reduce it. You can't get away from it. Doesn't matter how many circles of protection you sleeve up. This isn't about making one smart play. It's about the whole game board.
The entire system. We are talking about systematic risk.
And what's so, fascinating and also deeply worrying is just how total it is.
Pervasive is the word. It hits the entire system, right? No exceptions. Think about how we usually handle risk. Like building a deck.
Yeah, you balance your mana, you put in removal, maybe some counter spells, different ways to win.
Right, you diversify. So if they have one answer, like a specific hate card, it doesn't just wreck your whole plan.
Or invest, like regular investing.
Same idea. Diversification is king. Spread it out. Stocks, bonds, maybe real estate, maybe some collectibles like our graded alpha cards.
What a dream portfolio.
The idea being, if one area tanks, maybe another holds steady or even goes up. It balances out.
Yeah, you hedge your bets.
But systematic risk laughs at that.
Huh.
It doesn't care about your clever chess move on the board.
Here's like a giant wave hitting the whole coast at once.
Or, like a global economic meltdown. Doesn't matter if you own tech stocks or energy stocks or, Pokemon cards, everything gets pulled down.
Because the risk isn't in the thing itself, it's in the system the thing exists in.
Exactly. You can't reduce systematic risk within a specific portfolio, like your Magic collection. It's the baseline risk you just live with.
Ugh. And that's why it's such a deep fear, right? It's not just, oh, I might lose a bit. It's that fundamental anxiety that really can genuinely keep you awake. You could line your room with actual foils of Circle of Protection, white, sleep on a pillow stuffed with them.
Probably uncomfortable.
Probably. But that feeling, that dread, it still gets in. It's this knowledge that no matter how good you are at evaluating cards, how carefully you curate your collection, how much homework you do before dropping cash.
There's this huge, uncontrollable force out there.
Yeah, that can just reset everything, change the whole landscape you thought you understood. It's like the illusion of control just vanishes. Poof. And you're left feeling really exposed.
And that image you painted, wearing the PSA 10 Alpha Cop Red to the supermarket.
Poor Timmy.
It sounds nuts to anyone outside the hobby, right? But for us, it clicks. It's that extreme, almost desperate need to feel safe when faced with something so totally beyond your control.
Trying to ward off the economic boogeyman with cardboard magic.
It taps into that shared quirk, doesn't it? That slightly irrational behavior we sometimes show when our passion is tied up with, real money. We want to protect our stuff, even from invisible forces we can barely name.
It's human nature, I guess, facing the idea of losing something you care about that much. Terrifying.
It really is.
And we need to be super clear here. This isn't about making a bad trade. That stings, but it's different.
Right. Or buying a single card that tanks because it got banned or reprinted into oblivion. That's specific risk. Idiosyncratic risk, they call it.
Yeah, your ship hit an iceberg you maybe should have seen, or maybe just spraying a leak because you didn't maintain it. That's on you, partly. But systematic risk. This is the whole ocean's water level dropping. Imagine the tide going out, not just at your local beach, but everywhere, globally.
Okay, yeah.
When that water level goes down, what happens?
Every ship goes down with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how big, how fancy, how well built.
Exactly. Your collection, my collection, that guy's collection down the street, every single card, every sealed box, we're all floating in the same ocean, and when the tide goes out, we all feel it.
There's no hiding from that lower water level.
None. You can't just sail your ship onto higher ground when the whole ocean is receding.
That water level analogy is really effective because it just slams home how systemic, how universal this is within that system.
Right. And for Magic, the system isn't just the rules of the game or even just like TCG player prices.
No, it's way broader. It's how Magic is tangled up with the bigger global economy. And that connection is much deeper than a lot of players might think at first glance.
Which brings me to this story. From back in 2008, it really hammered this point home for me. I remember it so clearly.
Okay.
It was a Saturday. I was hanging out with some friends, guys who worked at a brokerage firm. We're just sitting by the water, and one of them just looks worried, like really concerned about the state of the world, the economy.
Yeah, 2008 was that time.
It really was.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, knowing how much I was, pouring into Magic cards back then, buying, trading, speculating a bit.
As one does.
And he just says, totally serious, man, you really need to be careful, like really careful with how much money you're sinking into Magic the Gathering right now.
Oof. Direct hit.
Totally. And my first reaction, probably the same as a lot of you listening might have, just instant defense mode, like gut reaction.
Well, why? It's just cardboard.
Exactly. It's my game, my passion, my life, my hobby. This is my escape. That really intense emotional tie we have.
Absolutely. It feels separate from the real world sometimes.
Right. It often blinds us to the fact that, yeah, it's a hobby, but it still exists within this bigger economic thing. The cards have real monetary value tied to supply and demand, and that demand is tied to people having money to spend.
That defensive reaction is so common, though, and totally understandable. We pour so much of ourselves into these hobbies, not just money, but time, emotion, community.
It's a refuge for a lot of people. Creative outlet, social life.
So the idea that something cold and impersonal like the economy could mess with that,
yeah,
it feels like a personal attack almost, an insult to what the game means.
Definitely. But my friend, his questions, they were tough, but looking back, super on point.
What else did he ask?
He pushed it. He was like, how do you know things aren't going to just collapse? How do you know this isn't the end for Magic as like a high-value collectible thing? Yeah. How do you know it's not going to get 10 times worse? How do you know the end isn't near? He even threw in something about a zombie apocalypse, which,
Always adds perspective.
Right. Always makes you a little nervous. But seriously, those questions, they started to really get to me.
Made you nervous.
Yeah, genuinely nervous. It started chipping away at that confidence that it's just cardboard, it'll be fine, shield I had up. Because deep down, you know there's something real he's pointing at, something way bigger than just me and my binder.
You see the news, the headlines.
Exactly. And suddenly your little bubble of cardboard fun feels, well, way more fragile. And then he hit me with the killer analogy, the one that perfectly nails the feeling of trying to buy into a market that's just plummeting.
Ah, the falling knife.
The falling knife. It's kind of like catching a falling knife, he said.
Ugh, that's such a visceral image.
Yeah.
And so accurate.
Totally. Like a chef drops a really sharp knife, it's heading point down towards the floor.
How do you know when it's actually hit the bottom? When it's safe to pick up?
You don't? And if you try and grab it mid-air, before it stops falling...
You're going to get sliced. Badly.
Yeah. And in 2008, that wasn't just an analogy. It was happening. The whole economy was nosediving, stock market crashing.
And yeah, even Magic card prices. You can see it online, on eBay, TCG Player.
Yeah.
Prices were dropping.
Visibly tanking. You could feel the demand just evaporate. Bidders weren't pushing prices up. Sellers were slashing prices just to move anything at all.
Trying to get out while they could.
Exactly. And it felt so real, so painful on a personal level. I vividly remember buying sealed boxes of stuff thinking, okay, this is it. This is the bottom. $200 a box. It's a steal. Generational buy.
Buying the dip. Classic move.
Totally. Only to watch it drop to $180 the next week.
Ouch.
Then $160, then $140. And you're just sitting there checking prices, feeling like you're completely losing your ass.
That's a horrible feeling.
And the worst part is you keep doing it. You keep trying to buy the dip, thinking, okay, now it's the bottom, but it just keeps falling.
Catching that knife again and again.
Yeah, that sick to your stomach feeling when you finally realize what you're doing. That your hand is getting sliced repeatedly. That systematic risk hitting you right where it hurts. Personally, directly.
And no amount of wearing that PSA 10 copperette around the house is going to stop that economic reality if the whole system's going down.
Nope. Your good intentions, your belief in the cards means absolutely nothing when the market itself is in free fall.
Which brings us right back to how interconnected Magic is with the wider global economy.
Yeah, we sometimes like to think of Magic as this like independent little bubble, right? A self-contained world where only mana curves and card advantage matter.
An island paradise of cardboard.
Pretty much, but it's
Yeah.
just not. It's not an island. Big economic events, political shifts, stuff happening seemingly miles away. It ripples through.
Absolutely. Things like, say, major election results in Europe or specific financial trouble hitting the UK, Britain. These things definitely affect the Magic market.
How so, though? Like, specifically?
Well, think about it. A lot of major buyers, sellers, even big stores that are key parts of the secondary market, they're based in Europe.
Right.
Wizards themselves does a ton of business there. So if those economies take a hit, if there's political instability, what happens?
People have less money. Less disposable income.
Exactly. Less money for hobbies. It affects card flow across borders, import-export stuff. It affects people's willingness to spend on non-essential things like Magic cards.
And it probably even affects Wizards' own bottom line, their business decisions.
For sure. We're all swimming in the same big, interconnected global financial pond. What happens over there eventually makes waves over here, and vice versa.
And the really unsettling part is, you can't predict exactly how big those waves will be or exactly where they'll hit hardest.
No way. You can't just look at like a vote in Germany and say, okay, Tarmogoyf prices are going to drop 15% in the next 6 months because of this.
If only it were that simple.
Right. It's way more complex, way more unpredictable. But the link, the correlation, it's definitely there. Things happening thousands of miles away in completely different arenas like global finance or politics, they absolutely can send shockwaves through your binder.
It's like this constant, low-level hum of potential vulnerability you just have to live with.
Which leads to the whole psychological side of it, the burden of loss, especially when it comes from something you literally could not control.
Yeah, that's rough, because even if you did everything right...
Like, let's say you made a totally proper, due diligent investment based on everything known at the time.
Okay, example.
Say, back in 2009, you bought 100 sealed booster boxes of the original Zendikar for maybe $400 each.
Whoa, big play. But yeah, back then, Zendikar was hot stuff. Full art lands, fetch lands.
Exactly. All the info, all the experts, all the market trends pointed to it being a solid, smart move for the long term.
Seems reasonable.
But then, bam, the next month, the wider economy completely tanks for reasons totally unrelated to Magic. What happens to those $400 boxes?
They're going to drop. Probably significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Just like stocks, just like real estate, just like almost everything else people invest in.
Exactly. There's truly nothing you, as the individual collector who made that smart Zendikar buy, could have done about it at that point. You were right based on the game state, but the whole stadium flooded.
And that is just brutal, isn't it? Because you absolutely beat yourself up over it. Psychologically, it feels like your failure.
Even though you did nothing wrong. You played the game perfectly based on the rules and information you had at that moment.
It was the right call then.
But systematic risk. It doesn't care about your good intentions, your smart analysis, your perfect timing within the Magic market itself. It's that tide, right? Lifts all boats, lowers all boats. Doesn't ask how well each boat was built.
And let's just be real about the feeling. Losing money, especially money tied up in something you're passionate about, it hurts. Like, really hurts.
It digs deep.
When you make a good trade, score a great deal, flip something for profit, you want to tell everyone, right?
Oh yeah. Bragging rights at the LGS, posts online. Gotta flex a little.
But when you lose, when that investment tanks...
Crickets. You clam up.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell anybody. It just sits there, this quiet, bitter feeling.
Yeah, like a lump in your throat. It's a hit not just to your wallet, but to your confidence. Maybe even makes you feel kind of dumb. And it can even suck some of the fun out of the hobby.
Absolutely. That's just how it works for most of us. It's human.
That psychological weight is huge. It goes way beyond just the dollars and cents. It feels personal, like a judgment on you, even when it's totally external.
And that can really mess with your enjoyment, right? If you're always looking at your cards and just seeing the money you lost or the value that isn't there anymore.
Yeah, it makes it harder to just shuffle up and play, to enjoy the game for the game's sake. Part of your brain is just screaming about sunk costs or missed opportunities.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. It's not just us players who worry about big risks. Wizards of the Coast themselves, the makers of Magic, they've historically been pretty scared of certain things too.
Right. Things that they worried could seriously damage the game, maybe even take Magic off its game, as the source material put it.
But these weren't necessarily those big external economic storms we've been talking about. These were more like internal problems, self-inflicted wounds.
Goals, you could call them, yeah. Mistakes made by wizards that could have potentially caused systemic damage from within the game itself.
And that's a really important distinction to make. Systematic risk is external, unavoidable. These other things, they were internal missteps.
And one of the biggest, most notorious examples, one that still makes veteran players grumble, is the whole Chronicles situation.
Oh boy, Chronicles, yeah. Just saying the name. You can feel the temperature drop in some corners of the internet.
For a lot of people back then, Chronicles was the set that basically drove Magic into the ground. At least that was the feeling.
What actually happened? For folks who weren't around then.
Okay, so basically, Wizards decided to reprint a ton of older, really desirable cards. Stuff from sets like Legends, Antiquities, The Dark, Arabian Nights. Importantly, these cards were not on the reserve list yet, because the reserve list didn't exist until after Chronicles.
Ah, okay. So they reprinted things like the Elder Dragon Legends, Nicol Bolas and Friends.
Exactly. Those big, splashy, valuable gold cards from Legends, plus other staples from those early sets. Stuff people had spent serious money on, sometimes thousands of dollars back then, thinking they were solid investments.
They were rare, hard to find.
Right. And then, boom, Chronicles hits the shelves. And it's printed in massive quantities. Suddenly, the market is just flooded with these previously scarce cards.
So the supply just exploded overnight.
Completely. And what happens when supply skyrockets and demand stays roughly the same, or maybe even shrinks because the mystique is gone?
Prices plummet.
Prices absolutely cratered. It effectively trashed everyone's value of Legends cards in all the Elder Dragon Legends. It wiped out huge amounts of perceived value from people's collections almost instantly.
Man, people must have been livid.
Oh, beyond livid. There was real anger, real bitterness, a deep sense of betrayal. People felt like they'd done everything right, bought into the collectability, supported the game.
And then the company itself pulled the rug out from under them.
Exactly. They felt like they did nothing wrong, but lost a ton of money because of a decision made by Wizards. It was seen as incredibly poor management, a total misunderstanding of the secondary market, and the trust players had placed in the value of those early cards.
A huge self-inflicted wound. Shook confidence badly, I bet.
Massively. But, and this is the crucial difference from systematic risk, Wizards acknowledged it. They realized they'd really screwed it up, as the sources say.
And what did they do?
In direct response, they created the reserve list. That infamous promise not to reprint a specific list of cards ever again in a tournament legal form. It was basically them saying, okay, we messed up. We won't let that specific thing happen again.
So they learned. They corrected course. That's key.
Very key. It shows an ability to react and adapt even if the lesson was painful.
Okay, what else? Any other own goals?
Well, there's Fallen Empires. Different kind of problem, though, not reprints.
Right. Fallen Empires, lots of Thalids and Homerids. What was the issue there?
It had amazing theme and flavor, super strong identity. People loved the lore, the art, the world building.
Yeah, it felt really cohesive.
But the problem was it kind of suffered from a lack of diversification in terms of gameplay and power level. It focused so heavily on those specific tribes, Thalids, Homerids, Goblins, Merfolk, Thralls.
Old tribes.
Cool, but many of the cards were just not very powerful or super niche. They didn't really slot well into existing decks or create powerful new strategies outside of very casual theme-based play.
So lots of cards ended up being kind of bulk rares or just unplayable filler.
Pretty much. It sort of overpowered diversity and other choices within the set design. Players realized pretty quickly that while the flavor was great, the actual cards often lacked the punch or versatility to be widely sought after.
So the value wasn't really there long-term for a lot of the set.
Right. And again, Wizards seem to learn from this too. They acknowledged that mistake, implicitly at least. They understood that a set needs more than just cool flavor. It needs playable cards, strategic depth, varied power levels to keep players engaged and maintain value. You can't just print a million low-power tribal cards.
Another example of learning and adapting, okay, fast forward a bit. What about more recently?
A more modern example people might remember is Modern Masters 2015 or MM15.
Ah, the second Modern Masters set. I remember that one. What was the issue there? More reprints, right?
Yeah, it was a reprint set aimed at modern players. But the feeling afterwards, according to sources, was kind of a, whoa, crap, we did too much moment for Wizards.
It printed too much of it.
That seemed to be the consensus. Boxes of MM15 just sat on store shelves for a long time compared to the first Modern Masters.
Yeah.
There was this unexpected glut, an oversupply that didn't quite meet the projected demand at its price point.
So it wasn't the runaway success the first one was?
Not quite. And that experience seems to have directly led to Wizards becoming much, much more cautious about printing subsequent Eternal or Master sets. They got really careful about print run sizes after MM15.
Which is funny because now you hear players complaining all the time that there aren't enough reprints of modern staples.
Exactly. It's the irony, right? Wizards got scared after MM15. They worried they'd shaken the foundations of the secondary market again, like with Chronicles, and they didn't want to wobble the system.
They're afraid of crashing card values, making stores stuck with product.
Right. That fear of devaluing collections, hurting LGSs by oversupplying. It's a direct result of learning from things like Chronicles and MM15. They're constantly trying to walk this tightrope between meeting reprint demand and not crashing the market.
Finding that sweet spot for print runs, it's tricky.
Super tricky. Print too little, players complain about access and prices. Print too much, collectors and stores get burned, and confidence drops.
Okay, so Chronicles, Fallen Empires, MM15. These were big mistakes, potentially game-damaging mistakes.
They really could have been. They could have potentially taken down the system or at least severely hurt Magic's reputation as a collectible and a stable game.
But they didn't. Wizards managed to navigate through them.
And that's why, in this specific context of internal versus external risk, Wizards is kind of a unique snowflake, as the source put it. They didn't just throw up their hands. They evaded, they moved, they adapted, they evolved.
They acknowledged the screw-ups, learned lessons, changed policies like introducing the reserve list.
Exactly. That ability to self-correct, even for massive blunders, is pretty remarkable for any company, let alone one managing something as complex as Magic's economy and community. They came out of those dips, often stronger, and kept going. That resilience is key.
And that active adaptation, that steering the ship away from icebergs they created, that's totally different from just being tossed around by the unavoidable storm of systematic risk.
Precisely. With systematic risk, you're just on the ocean. You accept the weather. With these internal mistakes, Wizards showed they could actually patch holes in their own ship, maybe even change course a bit. It shows a commitment to longevity, driven by some hard-learned lessons.
Okay, so bringing it all together, let's do the reality check. What does this all mean for you, the listener, the player, the collector, sitting there looking at your stack of cards?
Well, the kind of sobering takeaway, even after looking at how Wizards has adapted and learned, is that systematic risk. It's still there.
Still constant, still unavoidable. Wizards can fix their own mistakes, but they can't control the global economy.
Exactly. It's always lurking in the background. A fundamental truth of any market, including Magic's.
And this is where it gets personal again, because it really doesn't matter what your specific niche is within Magic collecting.
Doesn't matter if you're all in on sealed booster boxes.
Or carefully curated, high-grade, graded cards.
Or chasing the latest modern staples for tournament play.
Or even just grabbing standard cards before they rotate out, hoping they find a home somewhere else.
If the whole system gets shaken, if the broader economy takes a massive hit, if people suddenly have way less discretionary income for widespread reasons,
you're going to get hammered. We all are.
no part of the Magic market is truly bulletproof against that kind of large-scale downturn. Even the most iconic, rarest cards, like a Black Lotus. Sure, it probably won't go to zero, but its value will absolutely be affected if the overall market is tanking, if collectors need cash, if demand dries up.
It comes right back to that water level thing, doesn't
It
it?
always does. If the water level in the whole ocean goes down,
Every single ship goes down with it. It's a shared fate, no exceptions.
no special lifeboats for your specific collection, no matter how much you love it or how carefully you chose it.
If the market tide recedes because people just can't afford to play or collect anymore, then yeah. You and all of us watching this with your collection, we all go down together.
It's a communal experience in a way, a shared vulnerability that connects everyone, from the person with $1 million collection to the kitchen table player with a shoebox full of commons.
We're all in the same boat, riding the same economic waves.
And maybe the most important insight from understanding all this is about acceptance and perspective.
How so?
Once you really truly accept that systematic risk exists, that it's inevitable, that some massive forces are just completely outside your control,
Yeah.
it's easier to move on, as the source said. You stop beating yourself up over market dips that had nothing to do with your choices.
Ah, right. You stop blaming yourself for the tide going out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That acceptance isn't about giving up. It's actually kind of liberating. It lets you shift your energy. Stop fighting the hurricane and focus on, reinforcing your own house where you can make a difference. Focus on the parts of the hobby or your finances where your choices do matter.
You made the best call you could with the info you had. If some external bomb drops, well, that wasn't on you.
Precisely. It's just the nature of the system we're all playing in.
And it also gives you a weirdly healthy dose of perspective on, well, life in general.
Anyway,
Look, let's be real. Most of us listening, myself included, we're not going to be footnotes in history books because of our Magic collections, right?
probably safe to say, yeah.
We're not these beautiful, unique snowflakes whose financial ups and downs will be studied for generations. We are, frankly, just blips on the radar. In 50 years, outside our own circles, no one's really going to care about whether our Zendikar boxes went up or down.
It sounds a bit harsh, but it's kind of true.
It is what it is. And once you really kind of lean into that thought, it's a bit funny, but also freeing that your collection, yeah, it's super important to you, but it's also just part of this much bigger, often completely indifferent economic flow.
It takes some pressure off.
Totally. It makes it easier to actually enjoy the game, to focus on the fun, the community, the strategy, the friendships, not be constantly paralyzed by the fear of the uncontrollable price chart.
It turns that big, scary monster of systematic risk into just a known factor. A background noise you're aware of, rather than something terrifying that dictates your every move.
Yeah. It's like knowing it might rain, so you bring an umbrella, but you don't let the possibility ruin your whole day out.
Right. It lets you approach the hobby with clear eyes. You can separate the joy of playing from the sometimes stressful reality of card values.
Doesn't mean you stop caring about value, but maybe it changes how you care.
Exactly. It empowers you to make informed choices, understanding the real risks involved, but not letting those risks completely overshadow the passion.
So, okay, here's the final thought to leave you with. We've talked a lot about this inescapable risk, this systematic stuff. Given all that, how does knowing this change things for you?
Yeah, how does it change how you approach your Magic collection? You're buying, you're selling, you're holding.
Does it make you more cautious? Or maybe, weirdly, does it free you up a bit? Like, well, some stuff's out of my hands anyway. Might as well just enjoy the ride.
Is it purely about the investment for you? Purely passion? Or that complex, messy mix in between?
What does it really mean to play and collect, knowing this fundamental truth is always there? How does that shape your journey in Magic going forward?
It really is a question of finding that balance, isn't it? Knowing about the granddaddy of all risks doesn't mean you quit. Maybe it just helps you play the game, both Magic and the collecting game, with a bit more wisdom and maybe even more appreciation for the fun parts.
Something to think about. Well, that's all for this deep dive. Until next time.